Are you struggling to prioritize your backlog? As you can imagine, there are many ways to come up with the priorities. And coming up with the right priority should be the highest priority of you if you are a product manager or product owner. There are many ways to prioritize, as I mentioned. Value versus effort prioritization, the prioritization matrix, the prioritization quadrants, and then there is rice and ice prioritization, and then there is WSJF, WSJF, weighted shortest job first. So many techniques to prioritize your product backlog items. Among all these, WSJF or WSJF, short for weighted shortest job first, is a widely used prioritization, especially at the feature and initiative level. Want to learn more about WSJF? Join my conversation with MN, an agile coach and my buddy, as we discuss different aspects of WSJF, exploring the what, the why, how of WSJF. So, why wait? Come on in and join that conversation.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed Naveed, and I have been an agile coach. I would say I've been an agile coach for more than I am on paper. Because knowing more about agile coaching, I have discovered that I had this uh, I had this inherent skill. So I have been coaching different organizations at different levels, and one of the greatest things that I've learned coaching is give back. And that is one of the reasons why I am here as Nimesh conducts this give back sessions. As soon as I heard about it, and I'm like, let me grab this opportunity. I believe agile coaching, being a coach, actually teaches us to give back much more widely, much more deeply as well. And here I am to give as much as possible. I don't necessarily promise how much deep or wide we can go in today's topic, but I can promise that I'm committed.
Yeah, and I'm a strong believer in that. The more you give, the more you get. The more people do this, the better for the community. So we both are agile coaches, and we have many years of experience working at many different organizations at the team level as well as at the enterprise level, right? And when we talk about agile, we focus a lot on the product backlog, right? We focus a lot on the prioritization. So I want to touch on that as to why we focus so much on the backlog. More importantly, why we focus so much on the prioritization.
Yeah. So whenever there is a team, the question about product, obviously we are building a product because in the past we used to work on projects. We don't no longer work on products, but rather we build products. And if we have to build products, there could be thousands of asks, right? If I want to, let's say, I want to create the Amazon website from start, right? Let's say a new Amazon website, whatever the competitor is, and the sky is the limit, right? Because I have an idea as to what Amazon is going to be. I don't know if Jeff Bezos had an idea 30 years back when he started this off with his bookstore, but the product will have lots of bells and whistles, right? The product can, in fact, not even the person who starts that product, who initiates that product or that organization, they also won't have an idea because they have to learn from the market, they have to learn from the customers, and they have to learn from the needs and wants and pivot accordingly. So at any given point in time, I can think of 100 different ways of what I want in this product. And those 100 different ways are not feasible, not possible, not economical. And if that is the case, then we will have to have a way of trying to accomplish in a way that is providing value to the end customer, and also at the same time benefiting the organization. So it has to be a bidirectional. It can't just be one way, obviously, right? So anything starts with has to start with the backlog and the set of things, let's call it as activities that are needed in order to accomplish, to get to that vision and to get to that goal of this particular project.
And yeah, as we say, Agile is value driven, right? It's a value driven approach. So we are constantly looking for that value for our customer, value for us as an organization. And the priority is assigning right priorities is key activity. As you said, there are many factors that can contribute to this as to what we build in that product and the priorities on those items also. So I may be looking at the revenue it will generate. I may be looking at the risks. So there are many factors. So how does one decide the priorities? I mean, I could be looking at 20 different things, and I can drive myself crazy trying to look for those 20 different factors for those 100, 200,000 different items that I have on the product backlog. So how does one go about deciding those priorities?
Yeah, so the priorities can, obviously the decision has to be made based on certain attributes of the product, certain attributes that we are looking for. One of the terms that often comes up is economical value. If it does not economically make sense to go after this particular functionality, then it might be a great feature according to myself, or according to some of the internal people, or a few of the stakeholders. But if it does not make sense to the broader audience, and again, it depends on what that broader audience is, right? Because for some products, it might be broader audience. For some products, it might just be, okay, I'm just looking for a niche segment of audience, right? So it all depends. It's a broader scheme of things. But at the end of the day, the keyword here is what is the economical sense for your product, for your organization. And a couple of techniques that I often leverage for product backlog is one of the most simplest if they are just starting off in their product journey. I use a Moscow technique, which is fairly straightforward, fairly simple. It is basic English type of a technique. Moscow stands for M, must have, should have, could have, and would have. By this way, there's going to be an easy prioritization way that products can leverage at the very beginning, but you can only go so far with this. Not too much economics, not too much cost, and what is the equation in terms of delay and things like that will not be accounted for in this technique. However, go a little further, and we have another technique called weighted shortest job first, also commonly called as WSJF. And this term was coined by Don Reinertsen. Don Reinertsen is he's the father of coining this term and calculating basically the cost of delay, cost of economic value, either sunk value or gained value. So a weighted shortest job first has a mathematical technique, mathematical formula as well to it. And the more I have used it in organizations where there were products that were already stable products and they needed to do enhancements, and when we applied WSJF technique, it did wonders to the backlog. So also with newer products, when we applied WSJF technique for new products, it solved a lot of problems. It solved a lot of questions, because right at the top level, because product decisions usually not necessarily at the product owner level. Many times the decisions are at the product manager level or even beyond that, right? So for them, it has to make sense. It can't just be, okay, should I do this or should I not do this? Would you be able to do this? Would you not be able to? It's not as simple as that. Any commercial product, they need to have, like I say, it's proof on paper. And WSJF actually provides that proof on paper, and it is driven by the people who are involved in it day in, day out. Solutions architects, lead developers, product managers, and product owners are some of the people. Solutions architect, these are some of the people who are involved in it and who have the know-how, not only of the technology, but also of a good understanding of what their architecture is, what can they accomplish, what can they not accomplish, what is their product roadmap look like, not only of this product, but the organization's product, because an organization can have multiple products.
So yeah, often when we talk about prioritization, we are talking about looking at the product owner and asking the product owner to come back with the priorities. This is beyond product owner, right? As you said, there are multiple players involved in this prioritization. So this is not at the story level prioritization. This is much higher level prioritization. So do you want to talk a little bit about that as to when and where they should be used as far as the prioritization?
The organization typically has certain initiatives that they would typically define. And those initiatives could be a major functionality. It could be in the waterfall world, what we might call it as projects. I would term those as initiatives. And if those are initiatives, then prioritization works best using WSJF for these types of initiatives that could have a larger chunk of functionality development or larger chunk of enhancement, a huge defect that spans across multiple teams, perhaps multiple sprints. It could be involved, multiple players could be involved. That's what I would term as an initiative. It has to be at an initiative level. That's where I have seen the best value come out of it. Because if it's too low level, it does not justify the amount of effort and time that is being spent. At the very top level, I have not at least seen it work well. There are other techniques that are being used, but for the most part, the organizations today are faced with how do we prioritize these initiatives? The WSJF technique has bang for your buck if you use it at the initiative level. Some of the components that Don Reinertsen, again, this is all the work of Don Reinertsen, not of Mohammed Naveed or any of the other Agile coaches, or one of the person who has made this term famous is Dean Leffingwell, Scale Agile Framework. So he actually popularized it. He brought it into the commercial side of Agile coaching and product development and improvement. It is a formula that derives based on cost of delay and the job duration. So the cost of delay has a bunch of attributes, a combination of which becomes the cost of delay if we do not achieve that particular functionality, that particular initiative in the given time, in the given budget, with the given scope. What are those three attributes that are commonly talked about? The first one in the cost of delay is what is the user business value? The second one is what is the time criticality. The third one is a combination of risk reduction and or opportunity enablement. A combination of these three components form the basis of cost of delay. Let me give you an example. I had introduced this concept to one of the product managers, and they were like, "This all sounds baloney." It's like, yeah, we are good with our prioritization. I don't have to be helped. When I introduced them, like, look at cost of delay, look at user business value, like, so what's the big deal? And then I actually had to pull him to, let's put some of your initiatives into this technique and see how it plays out. And typically, what I suggest is compare your product backlog with similar items, similar initiatives. If you're going to compare apples to oranges in terms of initiatives, then you're going to have distorted views. And I don't recommend having more than 10 initiatives to compare to. When I showed this to the product manager and we actually played it out in a matrix format, that person was like, something hit him on his head. It's like, this is amazing. And they never looked back. That's the power of this. The power of WSJF technique is actually to try it out. Yeah, so one of the quotes that is mentioned over there, if you only quantify one thing, quantify the cost of delay. Super important, super important. And that is one of the things that is ignored in product organizations today. They do not account for the cost of delay. All they care about is, I think this initiative is going to have value. My boss says that this is going to have value. That's not how it is. It has to be on cost of delay, because that is money burnt from the organization's point of view.
So on that, I mean, there's another, we jokingly say that there is another prioritization technique called HIPPO, right? Highest paid person's opinion. So we are not talking about that. This is more scientific way of coming up with the priorities.
So these were the components of the cost of delay that we were talking about, which is the user business value itself, the user business value in terms of, if we are going to talk to some of the people who are going to be on the table, who are going to be putting a value to this, will be the product managers and solutions architects and all those people. They will understand what is the business user business value for this particular initiative, right? The people who have the know-how, only they will be on the table, right? So that and a combination of time criticality. Let's say there is going to be a trade show, okay, and there is a website that is being developed. This particular functionality has to be put in by this date because there is going to be a trade show, or maybe there is a summit. For the summit, there is all the details has to be in place before the summit, definitely, at least before the summit. The time criticality in this case would be like on a scale of 1 to 10. By the way, nobody's dictating what the scale is going to be. That leverage is on you. Define what you want the scale to be, 0 to 5, 0 to 10, 0 to 100. Sky's the limit. Be creative. And see what works out for you. In my organization, a couple of organizations that I have been, scale of 0 to 10 worked out best. Time criticality in this example would be a 8 or a 9, meaning we can't miss it. The user business value also might be high in this case because there's a lot of business value that comes out of this particular summit's website. How much risk reduction or opportunity enablement does it give? Again, that's a combination, but again, that could be a rating from 0 to 10 as well. In this case, right, the risk might be not so much. There is an opportunity if you are going to have the summit and the website is up and running and with great UI and UX and things like that. We have a great opportunity to have additional customers, right? So they might play it very high on their list as well. So a combination of all these three things will form the basis of the cost of delay. And the WSJF formula, the cost of delay is the numerator, and the denominator is the job size, as in how much effort will this take? How much time will this take? The overall functionality itself, the overall initiative itself, what is the job size? Remember who's on the table, the solutions architect, the lead developers, the senior developers. These guys have been there, have done that in the past. So their guess is not shooting in the dark. 8 out of 10 times, in my experience at least, is that they hit it spot on. If they say this is going to take 8 weeks, it takes somewhere around 7 to 9 weeks. That's what I've seen. Fairly accurate. And that's why job duration we can come up with over here. And then the WSJF actually plays out very nicely. A combination of what is your cost of delay and denominated by what is the size. If the size is too high, then it may not make sense. If the size is too low, then it depends on where you want to go. So on the left-hand side, there are a couple of examples here that is being depicted within the Scale Agile framework. And they have the x-axis as time and y-axis as cost of delay. So let's say, again, 3 different initiatives, initiative A, B, and C. Initiative A, again, has 130 cost of delay. This 130 are numbers that is a combination of those 3 components, right? User business value, your time criticality, and risk reduction. And they may have also used a scale of 0 to 10, okay? So 10 plus 3 times 10 is what becomes 130 for the initiative A, okay? So that is your low WSJF first, meaning in this case, right, even though the value of C may not be less, but you are able to accomplish that early on. So you want to get value sooner rather than later. So let's take the same example. If initiative A takes us 6 months, initiative C takes us 2 months, but it will deliver less value. What WSJF is saying is go after initiative C because we want to realize the value early as much as possible. Even though it may not be as valuable, the risk might be low, even then go after that first because we want to be able to achieve value because there are other aspects that come into picture over here. That is, we want quicker feedback. We want to put into the hands of the customer as early as possible, not later. If we are going to try to repeat the same problem that we used to have in the past, which is waterfall, which is let's wait for 6 months until we get to A, then there's no feedback, there is no value driven, there's no collaboration with our end customers, and at the end is going to be a big bang release. And we know big bang releases are big bang fails. We don't want that to happen.
Thanks, Simon. So a couple of things I wanted to highlight here. So you mentioned, obviously it is not just the product owner doing this. There are other people involved here. So would it be fair to say that when we are using this technique for prioritization and prioritizing the initiatives, we are actually bringing the business and the technology together, and they collaboratively are coming up with this prioritization?
That's an excellent point. And yes, absolutely. I thought it was obvious, but obviously it is not obvious. When we work with organizations, there is such a hard silo between business and technology that if myself and Nimesh can solve that problem, then we have solved half the world's problem. But yes, absolutely. The WSJF actually makes makes them talk to each other, makes the business and technology come to the table and have a holistic talk.
And the other thing I wanted to kind of highlight is so these are the parties at the table and they are coming up with some high level estimate, right? These are more of guesstimates based on their experience and knowledge. They are not like, there doesn't have to be exact estimates as often the management and organizations kind of dictate, right? So they are still ballpark numbers, they are still guesstimates based on their collective experience and knowledge.
Absolutely, it is a guesstimate because if we are going to have something written in blood, then that means we are not being agile, right? It has to be changing it, and it will change because we are dealing with human beings, and they better be changes. Change is obvious. It is going to have changes. People who are going to change, the product is going to change, and there's going to be several rounds that is going to happen.
So all this is awesome, all this is great. One question comes to mind. Is this something that we are doing just one time when we are starting maybe a large initiative and we just do this and then that's about it? Or is this something that we would recommend we do at a regular cadence? And if yes, what would be that regular cadence?
So the cadence for this WSJF is we would recommend do it every quarter for sure. But if there is a need for, let's say, okay, there is a niche product opportunity that we want to work on, then by all means do it on an on-demand basis. But we have seen that once in a quarter works out best. More often than that will be too much taxing on, because there's a lot of people from across the organization that need to be pulled into this. But I'll also tell you that we as coaches had started this as a technique that we wanted to experiment. And a few months later, down our transformation, and we were not hearing anything at all from the product, from the teams, and we were curious, and we reached out to one of the product teams, and they were like, "Oh, we actually do it every month, and we do it with everybody," and we were pleasantly surprised. So by all means, we will give you guardrails, that is once in a quarter at the minimum. But if you have the need to do it more often, by all means.
So if somebody wants to use this, do we have some template or do we have some artifact that we can point to or share with them?
Yeah, this table over here is actually that template. Not that difficult to make in Excel or in any format that you like. So basically the feature would be something like the initiative that I was talking about, and then use your user business value, time criticality, risk reduction, operation enablement, and have it form the basis of your matrix. And if you do it in Excel, it is best because you can actually put a formula on the WSJF column. And as soon as you plug in the numbers of user business value through job size, it will spit out the priority itself. So I would recommend creating an Excel spreadsheet.
Any other resources that we want to mention here for people to maybe go deeper dive into this? Any website, any books, anything that you want to mention?
Yeah, I would recommend reading more on Don Reinertson's work, especially on the principles of product development flow that he had written. Lots of great insights into what goes on behind the scenes, what goes on behind user business value. Why only that? Why not anything else? Why not a combination of other aspects as well? And how does that form the basis of a cost of delay, and how in turn that becomes richer? Great read. I mean, if you have the appetite, if you have the bandwidth, I would definitely recommend going into the Principles of Product Development Flow by Don Reinerson.
Anything else I should have asked? Anything else you want to add on this particular topic specifically?
No, I think that's about it. I would say use it. Many times I have seen many other coaches who or many even some of the program managers, they analyze this a whole lot, but they never use it. They get into an analysis paralysis paradox. Let the rubber hit the road, and then you are going to see the benefit out of it. You don't have to completely understand Don Reinerson's logic behind it. You don't have to go through his Principles of Product Development Flow book in its entirety. And sometimes if you do go there, it might become overwhelming. This has a synthesized way of trying out a prioritization technique. Not all organizations will have the appetite to do this. And if there is an appetite to do this, I would recommend to take that first step and try it out.
I have a saying that, you have to be willing to, open to exploring and experimenting, right? So this is one of those areas that you are going in as an exploration. It's new, it may be foreign. Keep it simple, use this formula, start using it, and then if you want to do a deeper dive later on, do that. But for now, initially, just keep it simple,